Welcome to your favorite channel, where untold stories meet shocking truths. Tonight, we uncover the rise and fall of two reality TV stars whose names once stood for love, strength, and the dream of a perfect life: Alex and Laura. To millions of fans, they were the golden couple. They were admired for their love story, their family journey, and their picture-perfect romance. Every smile, every post, and every public appearance made them look flawless. But behind the cameras and the carefully crafted images was a secret so dark it would eventually destroy everything. This is not just a story about romance. It is a story of deception, greed, and betrayal. For more than a year, Alex and Laura lived a double life. By day, they were beloved reality TV stars. By night, they were deeply involved in illegal activity, producing counterfeit US dollars and smuggling narcotics across state lines. Their charm and fame blinded the public, but their ambition pushed them toward a dangerous path. On December 20th, everything changed. What was supposed to be a routine drive to Chicago turned into a nightmare. Highway police stopped their vehicle, unaware of who they were about to expose. Inside the car, officers discovered nearly $1 million in counterfeit cash and dozens of bottles of alcohol. In that moment, the illusion collapsed. Alex and Laura were no longer the perfect couple. They were criminals caught red-handed. The arrest shocked fans across the nation. What followed was a chain of events no one expected. Interrogations that revealed disturbing truths, media outrage, and a courtroom battle that ended with harsh sentences. Love, fame, and greed had collided, and two lives were left in ruins. Alex and Laura Bansky's story began like a fairy tale. They met in a whirlwind romance that felt destined. Their relationship played out on television for millions to see, capturing hearts around the world. Fans believed they were watching something pure and real. As their popularity grew, so did their influence. Interviews, magazine covers, and social media painted them as the ultimate love story. They were praised not just for their romance, but for their strength and devotion to each other. To the public, they seemed perfect. But perfection was an illusion. Behind closed doors, cracks began to form. Fame brought pressure, and pressure brought temptation. Alex and Laura were slowly pulled into a world far removed from the one their fans admired, a world driven by money, power, and risk. It started quietly. Friends of friends introduced them to people who talked about fast money and easy opportunities. At first, it felt harmless, just conversations, curiosity, and temptation. They convinced themselves they were only looking. But curiosity turned into action. They began experimenting with counterfeit money. A few fake bills soon became thousands. They learned techniques, found suppliers, and built connections. Each successful exchange made them bolder. The thrill of getting away with it was addictive. Counterfeit money wasn't enough. Soon, Alex and Laura moved into smuggling narcotics. It started small, hidden in luggage or vehicles. The profits were far greater than anything they earned from television. Fame became their shield. No one suspected the smiling couple adored by millions. Their home turned into a center for illegal operations. Meetings happened late at night. Deals were whispered. Plans were made for bigger risks and bigger rewards. They told themselves it was temporary, a way to secure their future. But deep down, they knew there was no turning back. By day, they smiled for cameras and fans. By night, they ran a criminal operation that threatened to destroy everything. As time passed, their illegal business grew into a full empire. Alex handled suppliers and production, while Laura managed contacts and logistics. Together, they flooded markets with counterfeit US dollars while expanding their narcotics operations. The money poured in. Luxury followed, designer clothes, expensive cars, lavish parties. To fans, it looked like the rewards of fame. In reality, every luxury was built on crime. But their success made them careless. Associates made mistakes. Rumors spread. Authorities began hearing about counterfeit bills, and narcotics networks drew attention. Warning signs appeared, but Alex and Laura ignored them. They believed their fame made them untouchable. By late December, they knew the pressure was building. Instead of stopping, they decided to take one final risk. They planned a dangerous trip to Chicago, transporting nearly $1 million in counterfeit cash along with alcohol and narcotics. It was meant to secure their future. Instead, it ended everything. That journey exposed their secret world and shattered the image they had spent years building. The perfect couple was gone. What remained was the truth. Alex Bansky and Laura Bansky had it all, and lost it all. They were promised new contacts, bigger deals, and opportunities that could grow their forbidden business beyond anything they had imagined. To Alex and Laura, this was more than a trip. It was a mission. Every step was planned carefully, every detail thought through. Alex Bansky mapped out the route himself, choosing highways he believed were less monitored. Laura Bansky handled the cargo, hiding bundles of counterfeit money beneath layers of luggage. Narcotics were disguised in containers made to look ordinary. Together, they rehearsed their story again and again. They would be seen as nothing more than a glamorous couple on a simple trip. They believed their charm would protect them, but beneath their confidence was fear. Both of them understood the risk. One mistake, one suspicious look from an officer could destroy everything. Still, ambition won. They convinced themselves this journey would change everything, that it would take their empire to the next level. On the morning of December 20th, the plan was set in motion. The car was packed, disguises perfected, and their roles rehearsed. To the outside world, Alex and Laura were simply traveling to Chicago. In reality, they were racing toward a moment that would decide their fate. As the car rolled onto the highway, they felt untouchable. What they didn't know was that fate had already chosen a different ending. To fans, it looked like just another stylish trip for the perfect couple. But this was the most dangerous move they had ever made. Their car carried secrets that could ruin their lives. Beneath everyday items were nearly $1 million in counterfeit U.S. currency. Bottles of alcohol were placed to distract from the true cargo, while narcotics were hidden in compartments they believed would go unnoticed. Every detail had been rehearsed. The timing, the route, the confidence they would show if questioned. Alex believed no one would stop them. Laura told herself the same. As they drove, tension filled the car. Alex gripped the steering wheel tightly, watching every passing vehicle. Laura sat beside him, whispering reassurance, though her voice shook. She forced a smile and said everything would be fine. Still, both knew the risk. Every mile brought them closer to success or disaster. The silence inside the car was heavy, broken only by the sound of the engine. They exchanged nervous glances, wondering what awaited them. Neither of them knew that highway police were already conducting routine checks along their route. Patrol cars appeared along the road, officers watching traffic closely. Alex and Laura kept going, clinging to the belief that their fame and composure would protect them. This journey meant everything. It was the moment where their double life came together into one dangerous gamble. December 20th would not end the way they expected. As they drove, flashing lights suddenly appeared in the rearview mirror. A patrol car signaled them to pull over. In that instant, their carefully built empire began to crack. The stop seemed routine. Highway police were checking vehicles at random. Alex pulled over, forcing a calm smile. Laura leaned closer and whispered for him to stay calm. Both of them felt fear tighten in their chests. Hidden in the car was counterfeit cash, alcohol, and narcotics, enough to destroy them. The officer approached and asked for documents. Alex responded smoothly, his voice steady. Laura smiled politely, trying to appear relaxed. But the officers sensed something was wrong. Maybe it was the tension in their voices, the nervous movement of Laura's hands, or the way their confidence felt forced. Suspicion grew. The officer decided to search the vehicle. When the trunk opened, everything fell apart. Bundles of counterfeit money were stacked inside, impossible to hide. Bottles of alcohol were packed tightly together, far more than expected for a normal trip. The officer's expression changed instantly. No amount of charm could explain what was in front of him. The situation shifted fast. Backup was called. Officers surrounded the car. What had been a simple traffic stop became a crime scene. Their double life, their secret business, and their lies were exposed in seconds. Once admired by millions, Alex and Laura now stood under flashing police lights as criminals. There was no escape. The search continued. Officers pulled out bundle after bundle of counterfeit US dollars. Nearly $1 million in fake currency filled the trunk. Each stack represented months of planning and deception. Alex tried to stay composed, but fear showed in his eyes. Laura's hands shook as the truth became undeniable. Dozens of bottles of alcohol were removed next. The quantity alone raised serious suspicion. This was no ordinary road trip. Then came the final discovery. Hidden compartments revealed narcotics, carefully concealed, but now fully exposed. The evidence was overwhelming. Counterfeit money, smuggled alcohol, and illegal drugs, all tied directly to Alex and Laura Bansky. In minutes, their perfect love story turned into a criminal scandal. Their calm expressions disappeared. Their voices trembled. Every excuse failed against the mountain of evidence. Officers documented everything, photographing the money, counting the bottles, and securing the narcotics. This was no small crime. It was the end of their illusion and the beginning of their downfall. After the discovery, Alex and Laura were placed in handcuffs on the side of the highway. The flashing lights reflected off their faces as reality finally set in. There was no arguing, no escaping, and no rewriting what had just happened. Their empire was over. They were separated and placed into different police vehicles. As Alex sat in the back seat, his mind raced. Everything they had built, every risk they had taken, had ended in a single moment. Laura, sitting alone in another car, stared ahead in silence, her confidence completely gone. At the station, the questioning began. Detectives laid out the evidence piece by piece. The counterfeit money, the alcohol, the narcotics. Each item was photographed, labeled, and logged. The case against them was already strong, but investigators believed this was only part of a much larger operation. Alex was questioned first. At the beginning, he tried to maintain control. He claimed ignorance. He said he didn't know how the items got into the car. He suggested someone else must have planted them. But the evidence was overwhelming. Surveillance footage, phone records, and financial trails quickly contradicted his story. Hours passed. The pressure grew. Eventually, cracks began to form. Laura's interrogation followed a similar path. She appeared calm at first, but fear soon took over. When investigators presented messages, contacts, and transaction records, her composure collapsed. She realized there was no way out. As the night wore on, both Alex and Laura were forced to face the truth. Their fame could no longer protect them. The image they had carefully built meant nothing inside those interrogation rooms. Slowly, the full story came out. Investigators uncovered months of illegal activity, printing operations, distribution networks, contacts across multiple states. What began as a simple traffic stop turned into a massive criminal investigation. Authorities now understood they weren't dealing with small-time offenders, but with reality stars who had built a dangerous underground business. News of the arrest spread quickly. By morning, social media exploded. Fans were confused, shocked, and in disbelief. Headlines replaced admiration with outrage. Clips of Alex and Laura smiling on television were now played next to images of them in handcuffs. Sponsors pulled away immediately. Networks cut ties. Shows removed episodes. The perfect couple the world once loved became symbols of deception and greed. Friends distanced themselves. Some claimed they never truly knew them. Others admitted they had suspected something was wrong, but never imagined it was this bad. The court process moved quickly. Prosecutors presented a detailed case. They described how Alex and Laura used their fame as cover, how they traveled freely without suspicion, and how they exploited their public image to hide criminal activity. Financial experts explained how the counterfeit money moved through markets. Law enforcement detailed the narcotics routes and connections. The courtroom was packed. Former fans watched from the gallery, struggling to reconcile the people they admired with the criminals now standing before the judge. Alex and Laura sat side by side, silent, no longer touching, no longer united. When it came time for statements, neither had much to say. Alex spoke briefly. He admitted he had made terrible choices. He claimed he was trying to secure their future. His words felt empty, even to himself. Laura followed. Her voice shook as she apologized to their fans and families. She admitted fear had controlled her for a long time. She said she felt trapped by the life they had created. The judge listened carefully. The sentence was severe. Alex Bansky received a lengthy prison term for counterfeiting, drug trafficking, and conspiracy. Laura Bansky was sentenced as well, slightly less but still enough to change her life forever. Their assets were seized. Their wealth vanished. Their future disappeared. As they were led out of the courtroom, there were no cheers, no tears, no cameras celebrating them. Only silence. In prison, the contrast was brutal. Gone were the luxury cars, the designer clothes, and the spotlight. Alex now lived by strict schedules and locked doors. Laura faced isolation and regret. Both were forced to confront the consequences of their decisions every single day. Outside, their story became a cautionary tale. Documentaries were made. Articles were written. Commentators discussed how fame can hide darkness, how greed can corrupt, and how public images can be carefully crafted lies. Fans who once admired them now asked the same question. How did no one see it? The answer was simple and uncomfortable. People believed what they wanted to believe. Alex and Laura had smiles. They had love stories. They had success. And that was enough for most people. Behind the scenes, the truth had been growing quietly, waiting for the moment it could no longer stay hidden. Years later, their names no longer carried admiration. They carried a warning. Their rise was fast. Their fall was faster. They had everything: love, fame, opportunity. And they lost it all because it was never enough. This was not just the story of two reality stars who broke the law. It was the story of how ambition can turn into obsession, how deception can feel like control, and how even the most perfect image can collapse in an instant. In the end, Alex Bansky and Laura Bansky were not undone by bad luck. They were undone by their own choices. And the road to Chicago became the final chapter of a life built on lies. The road to Chicago became the final chapter of a life built on lies. But it didn't end there. Years passed. Prison stripped time of meaning. Days blended together, marked only by count times, meal trays, and the echo of closing gates. Alex learned quickly that reputation meant nothing behind concrete walls. No one cared who he used to be. No one cared how many followers he once had. Survival came down to routine, silence, and keeping his head down. At night, he replayed it all. The first counterfeit bill. The first deal that felt temporary. The moment when success stopped being thrilling and started being necessary. He realized too late that they weren't chasing freedom. They were feeding a machine that never stopped demanding more. Laura's sentence carried a different kind of punishment. Isolation weighed heavier than bars. In a quieter facility, she spent long hours alone, confronting thoughts she had buried for years. The fear she had spoken about in court never left her. It sharpened. She thought about the moments she could have walked away, the warnings she ignored, the silence she chose instead of truth. Letters came at first, from fans, from strangers, some angry, some sympathetic, some cruel. Over time, they stopped. So did the visits. Outside those walls, the world moved on. New reality stars replaced them. New scandals dominated headlines. Alex and Laura became footnotes, examples cited in documentaries and podcasts, their names spoken with detached fascination. Their story was dissected, dramatized, monetized. Everyone had a theory. Everyone had an opinion. But no one really knew them. Their family ties slowly frayed. Friends built new lives. The fame that once insulated them now worked against them, ensuring their past would never fully disappear, even as their relevance did. Years later, Alex received news that surprised him. Laura had agreed to participate in a documentary. At first, he felt betrayed, then curious, then resigned. He watched it from a prison common room, surrounded by men who barely glanced at the screen. He saw her older, thinner, quieter. No makeup, no performance. She didn't make excuses. She spoke about control, about fear masquerading as loyalty, about how success can become a cage when it's built on lies. She didn't try to redeem herself. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She told the truth. For the first time, Alex felt something close to clarity. Months later, he wrote her a letter, not to defend himself, not to reopen wounds, just to acknowledge what they had been and what they were no longer pretending to be. He didn't know if she would read it. She did. Her reply was short. Some endings are the only way we survive. Time continued.